Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to our program, which we conduct every second Sunday of the month. Today's topic is very interesting, affecting all of us most of the time. Most of the Muslims in America, they have moved from their native countries for one reason or the other. Now, this brain drain has a huge impact on on the countries they left, as well as on the country they came. But its main effect has been on the families. So it was just a coincidence that I was visiting Pakistan recently and came last night. At that time, I had to conduct this program, so I thought of a novel idea. I had a friend there who is a known speaker and motivational novelty. So I talked to him about this, and we decided to just interview him and tape the video. Professor Javed Iqbal is very well known, a professor of surgery. He's also known because of his soft skills of talking on different topics. Javed and myself, we are class fellows, and I remember the days when we used to go on bike to medical school in Nishtar Medical College, Pakistan. So since then, our friendship has grown bigger and bigger, while we both kind of going in the same direction, thinking about our nations and our Muslim Ummah, how we can contribute. So we decided to talk about this. This brain drain has affected mainly our next generation, our youth, because having some roots is very important to live in Western society. And if you cut that root, the person is like a tree without roots. So this brain drain keeps on coming again and again in the lives of this new generation in many aspects. The parents are connected to the roots, but the new generation has a new country. For them, Pakistan, Egypt, India, these are just the countries in geography. So this is very important to make our young generation realize what price we have to pay for this brain drain and what we can do to undo this effect and take the advantage of learning from these systems and going it back and giving back to our nation. So let's listen to the tape.
And today our topic is brain drain, a dilemma for Muslim world. So what's wrong with that? Naturally, there is movement of talent across the world, but especially the Muslim world is being deprived of talent and dynamic people. What is its effect on the young generation which is being raised in West? So today we are lucky to have Professor Javed Iqbal, professor of surgery, but above all, he doesn't just teach or help patients, he also inspires them, he motivates them. And that's why he is known all over the world about his motivational talks. And thank you, Javed, for joining me.
Thank you very much for having me in your program.
You're welcome. So Javed, you have seen the world either as a visiting professor and before that as a student, and you have interacted with Muslims all over the world. And now living in Pakistan, you have become a source of inspiration for so many people. Sometimes, people from India, they send me a video and say, "Oh, do you know this guy?" and say, "Oh, we are very much motivated."
Please don't tell them the truth that you know me inside out.
So, this topic is really affecting our young generation there. So, what do you think? What are the reasons people are just leaving these Muslim world?
Yeah, right. Thank you very much, Nasar. This problem is actually not single-faceted problem that we can just get an answer like yes or no, an objective answer. It's a very, the question is simple, but the answer is very complicated. And one very obvious and simple reason is that everyone in this world, he wants to grow and he wants to get best out of this world. And when he compares the Western world as to our own country, especially when you're talking about Muslim world, then when they compare in a worldly terms, they see that if you compare apple with apple, orange with orange, then in every sphere of the life, the Western world appears to be better than the world here in their own countries. You look at the social system, you look at the systems of governance, you look at the education system, you look in the terms of social security, old age benefits, health care system. So all of these things and simple day-to-day amenities and facilities, they are not comparable most of the time. So obviously it is very lucrative, and when a young person, especially someone who has got a talent and he thinks that he can jump, he wants to jump. This is the one aspect, and actually you can't blame them because everyone has got a right. And then there was a time when the world was divided into compartments and everyone was actually living in its own cocoon. But for the last 2 decades, with the invent of and discovery of very swift methods of communication and transfer of knowledge, within seconds, and availability of knowledge on your palm, all of these things have made people, especially young people, aware of what potentials they have and how they can express and exhibit those potential in the Western world. So this is the one basic reason for which people want to just move in the Western world.
But the intelligent people naturally also know the other factors,
Yes.
like how it can harm them, how it can uproot them. So what happens to them?
Yeah, right. You're right. Actually, this is why when I've said the other word comparative, I said apparently. This is why I said it apparently, because obviously there is a hindsight of it, and you know better than me because you have been in UK, you have been living in Saudi Arabia and also America for a long period of time. So actually you know it very well, but we often discuss those things. There are hindsights, but these hindsights are not visible to start with because of a very apparent reason that we human beings think ourselves as a physical entity alone. All those things which are very attractive to a person is because he thinks himself as a physical entity. So if we see the needs of the physical entity, then all those things fits in very beautifully inside. But actually we know that every human being has got other facets of life, other aspects of life. The second important aspect is the intellect. The third aspect is emotionality. And above all, there is a fourth aspect which humans, they don't share it with any other creature on this planet, and that is the spirituality. So, incidentally or unfortunately, our education system, our systems in our home, systems in our society, it just focuses on the physical growth of a person. So since the physical growth overpasses the other growth of the other aspects of the human personality or the individuality, as a result, he's just focusing on the physical element. But a person who has got a mature, grown-up intellect, emotionality, and above all spirituality, then for him, probably all those incentives, they are just minor incentives, right? But see, if I want to drive a Ferrari, if I want to live a very lavish house, if I want to live in a place where climate is very conducive, I want to live in a place where a lot of chances of holidays, right? And then obvious, these are all my physical needs. So the problem is, in our education and training system, if to start with, we teach our children, and not only just children, but masses, about the importance of intellect, emotionality and spirituality, then I think this question will not arise. The hindsight of it is that when somebody moves there, then his roots are back, and we are very, very, even if we are not very practicing religious people, I'm not saying Muslims, because I'm including all which have migrated from India, which have got migrated from some Jewish, some Buddhist country or from a Sikh origin. We people, or almost everyone in human beings who have actually some kind of a belief system to follow, their roots are very deep in that religion. Now, for physical lucrative incentives, they shift to a foreign country, but when they go there, they feel a very, very dangerous threat, very, very serious threat to attachment to their roots. Now, for the first generation, they don't feel it because their children are young and they think that they are growing them in a very, very healthy environment. But once they become adult, and especially what I have seen, if they have got girls, then suddenly they have migrated there, but their soul is very slow to travel, and soul actually doesn't fly with the airline. Slow is very slowly creeping towards them, and they are actually, when they go there, it's only their physicality and to some extent their intellect which is there, but and partially the emotionality, but the spirituality is still lagging behind. And once the children grow, and then it's just like that if we download an app, for example, an American app, or many apps are Israeli apps, I came to know, or a British app. When we download it along with their civilization. Yeah. So we can see what are the objective things which we handle on the app, but the civilization which have been downloaded with it, that does not match with our insight. So this is the dilemma. When they go there, I have got my real sister, you know her, and she lives there in Dublin. She has got 3 sons, and now my daughter is married to one of them. And I know, whenever I visit USA and then we travel all around, and we have got friends there and their children are grown. Only those parents, Muslim parents, which have just decided that faith is their own problem, let those children handle it themselves, they are apparently comfortable because they have just adjusted. But those people who have got strong ties with their religion, who have got strong ties with the relation, their culture and their social norms and their family structure, I see most of them are in trouble, and they have got a kind of turmoil inside, and they don't know where their children are moving. However, there are people, and I don't feel shy to say it, and with proudly, that you are one of them, that you have raised your children, and my sister is also one of them. She has raised the children in that way that for your children there is no problem. Yeah. Right? So I think I'm just finishing it. The take home message is that if you have gone there and you are a parent which is there, now if you would have been living in Pakistan and were putting 10% in your parenting, now you have to put 100% in your parenting. That's right. If the parents put 100% in their parenting, then raising their children in a Western society actually does not pose any danger. That's what I feel.
Yeah. But brain drain, you mentioned about the individual level. What happens, what are the fears, why we cannot assimilate, why we are slow and we have a cultural shock, and we are kind of apprehensive about our next generation. But dilemma is also about the Muslim world, that their talent. I was giving example to somebody that in an atom there's electrons that transfers. Only those electrons transfer that has energy, and everything in physics and chemistry is because of those electrons.
True.
So the same way, the dynamic people who are problem solver, who can, the complex society in Pakistan or other Muslim countries, they can find some solution, but they move. and because of their struggle, they don't have time to think back. So that's the collectively what is the loss for the Muslim world is huge. I mean, if some other country like America or other Western power captures our natural resources, that's not as big loss
True.
as they capture our talent.
True.
So that's also a dilemma. And in that dilemma, the people who are living in the West, my generation, they have a guilt. Now that guilt is a burden on the next generation.
True.
For them, it's their country.
True.
For their country, like my daughter, her country is America.
That's right.
For them, Pakistan is another country. So that burden, how to really...
Well, again, there are two aspects of responding to this question. One is that why there is a brain drain. I remember I was reading on an article that when Singapore became an independent country, one of the things to start with their leader did was that he announced that any Singaporean who is anywhere in the world, whatever pay he gets and in whatever currency he is paid, we are willing to pay them same amount of pay and the same currency, but you come back. Now this is the type of leadership which is needed.
Yeah.
Many of the people, when I was in America with you and we traveled at so many places, almost there is no one except of you who didn't ask this question from me. Yaar, is there any way that I can come back to Pakistan? Is there any way that these are all in our age group, I mean between 50s and 60. So as you have said that I don't know whether we call it a guilt or whether we call it a correct understanding or whatever it is, they want to come back. So the first answer to the first part of your question, in my opinion, is that our leadership must take it very seriously. Why people will be leaving it when they have got conducive environment present over here? I remember a long time ago, I was selected in Abu Dhabi as a consultant surgeon, and when I landed back at Karachi, my late father said that there is a call from Shifa International, and they said that if you want to have an interview, just go there today and they will decide. When I went there, I had got choices of Abu Dhabi and Shifa Inter, which is in Pakistan hospital. But my father said, although you are getting 1/3 of the pay which you are getting in Abu Dhabi, but the environment is very comparable and conducive, and it is our own country. So we'll not go to Abu Dhabi, we'll stay in Islamabad. Right? So if we create our leadership, our elders, our intelligentsia, our academia, our social thinkers, they must understand this problem that we are continuously draining our brilliant people. And as you have rightly said, that people who are going there, they are not ordinary people. They are those people who have got a sufficient softness to pass through that filter, and only then they can go into the West. I mean, there is a criteria for going there, and these are the people, if they would have been over here, they would have brought this country to the excellence. So this is one problem. Probably as an individual, I can handle it only if my spirituality is very high, which means doing on a personal, training and teaching and grooming myself. That's only handleable on a personal level. But this problem has to be addressed at the leadership level. They should seriously create institutions, and I would like to just share a good news that there are certain institutions in Pakistan now, especially since we are doctors, like PKLI is one institution. There is a place which is called Gambut, and seeing is believing. You go there and see. Probably this is one of the busiest liver transplant unit in the whole world. I'm saying whole world, because they are doing 5 liver transplants in a week. Unbelievable, the workload. Similarly, there are other institutions. I'm sure apart from the medical field, there may be other institutions. So it is started, but it is again in a snail's speed. It has to actually speed up. The second part of it is that guilt part. I think what those brothers and sisters can do, they are doing a lot of work. Just sending money and thickening our foreign exchange remittances and our treasure here. This is a great thing they are doing, but this is just a very minor contribution. The main contribution they can do is that they can transfer the technology. I will just request them and suggest them that whatever expertise and specialities you have, please spare few months of your year and just start making small institutions. There are many people which are ready to partner it with you, and you can just start. The business people can start their businesses over here. The technical expert people like you can come here and just do some services over there. And I'm very happy to share with you, and you already know it and you are into it, that there are many Pakistanis who are actually doing it. We have a friend, Riaz, he comes from Hull, UK every year, and he sets up his plastic clinic. In Gujarat, he sets up a plastic surgery clinic, and he does heaps and heaps of surgeries for the people. And similarly, I mean, you are one who just comes here at different part of cities, and you do, you know, expertise related to the musculoskeletal problems, and there are many people who are doing it. So if you can come back, please don't be emotional, just work it out statistically and see. You may just put your children in trouble if you come over here, unless and until you don't make a very good homework, because it will be injustice with those children. You grow them in that environment, and suddenly you come and work in those circumstances with which, you know, their personality and their individuality does not match. So I will just be very realistic and say, don't be very emotional, but still bring your children over here and bring your expertise over here, and start contributing it.
No, that's very good ideas about how we can reverse the brain drain. Yes. But the issue which we are interested, especially in this talk, is about our young generation that is now young and assimilated in American system or European system, and for them. So what do you think parents should be doing that they connect those children? I mean, apart from just moving here, I mean, technically, technology transfer, services, all those things are very good. But the children, they are kind of disconnected, and they feel disconnected. So what are the tips we can do for our children?
Well, for the children which are younger than 7 years of age, they can be molded the way you want it by changing the environment around them, right? But the children who are grown up, and in Pakistan we can say 10 years of age, but in West we will say 7 years of age, because their growth is much more rapid. They become, they had that adulthood in their head much earlier as compared to children over here. So for them, if someone is grown up, then it is very, very difficult. We know as a parenting, knowing the parenting principles, it's very difficult to change them, to mold their thought pattern. However, there are one tool which is the most important tool to just keep them in that discipline which you are mentioning. And the name of that tool is relation. If we don't lose our relation with our children, and the indicator for good relation is if your children wants to spend time with you, and they are always asking, Baba, Mama, please spare some time. I really enjoy when I sit with you. My time is a quality time when I am with you. This is one yardstick. And the second yardstick is that all those things which you don't like, they are very happy and willing to share even those things to you which you think are wrong, and you don't like them.
That's right.
If these two things, if your relation is of that level, then I think we are in a position to, I won't say change them, I would say we are in a position to mentor them. We are in a position to guide them. Every human being is independent entity, and as an independent person, and he has got a right to decide about our life. But our Eastern way of grooming our children is that our children are not their biological parents alone, they are their teachers, and above all they are their mentors. So what I will suggest will be one thing which I have noted whenever I went to either UK or in Australia also and USA, that all the parents who have got this problem, they have got a relationship problem. Their children are actually disconnected, they don't feel comfortable, and the one advice which I will give to the parents of those parents whose children are grown up, the advice will be that please don't advise them.
That's right.
Advising a child, an adult child, is one of the most counterproductive thing. So I will just say that you just develop a connection, and if you, for example, If you want them to read books, then don't tell them to read books. Just read books in front of them.
That's right. That's right. No, that's very important that their role model should be their parents. And I think there are many other simple ways also.
Yes,
like
please.
you can show the good aspects of Pakistan,
Yes.
or your whatever country you belong
And
to.
there are many actually.
Yeah. And
Yes.
there are like beautiful areas.
Yes.
You can bring them for tourism.
Yes.
They can have. I was thinking to kind of propagate this idea that why don't we do marriage in Pakistan and zoom it for the rest of the world?
Yes, yes.
Isn't that a way to
Lovely.
kind of,
It's a lovely
the,
That's a good
in
idea.
one marriage?
I think I'll do it in one of my YouTube vlogs. I will do that.
So you see, in one marriage, they spend like $150,000 to $200,000. I mean, think about this: that if they get this marriage in a scenic area in
That's
GBS, and then zoom it for the, I mean, the pandemic has taught us how to zoom and have a virtual marriage all over the world. So there are so many things I think we can get connected, and you're right. The relation with the children.
Yes, I mean, this was actually, the talk was so kind of a focused, and it was so serious talk that we actually forgot to I forgot to really share all those lighter parts of it which you have mentioned. See, there are so many historical places. I went to Edinburgh, and then there's a place called Royal Mile, and in that Royal Mile there are 9 type of monuments, and each monument they just charge you 50 pound, 30 pound, 20 pound, and they are just very simple things. They're not very, very historical. They're not very, very, kind of very attractive. They have got some value. But if you just move 100 kilometers from here, from Bahawalpur, there's a Dharawar Fort. And there is nothing in the whole world like Dharawar Fort.
That's right.
Right? And if that is developed, and if you bring your children, my Khalazad Bhai, my cousin came from Canada, and only reason for coming over here, only 2 reasons, was meeting me and also to see Dharawar Fort. And when he went there, he said, I'm so happy that I could see it because I only saw it in the books. So this is just one. You go to Uch, there are so many historical monuments. Yeah. In Bahawalpur, there are 5 forts, 5 type of, kind of palaces, which I can bet that there is no palace in the world is comparable to that in the aspect which, in which they were built. Similarly, our northern areas, I mean, you have been to Europe
full
and
of
other countries.
beauty.
Oh, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
The mountains which are there in the northern areas, they are not mountains. You have to develop some other vocabulary for that. They are something else.
Something else.
Right? With mountains, we think that there is a heap of mud and a stone there and grass over there. But they are beyond that.
Yeah.
There is something extra to that.
And not only that, the mountains, the people living in the mountains,
they are
simple
lovely.
people.
They are lovely.
So many things we can show, and when our children come, and because of the infrastructure, like the road is bumpy, and we haven't developed things, infrastructure
Sorry to
there.
interrupt you. This is also a very good news that now almost all Pakistan is connected with a motorway. If you start from Karachi, only there is one patch on which work has been started, that is from Hyderabad to Sakkar. Otherwise, you may not apply a brake if you start from that Karachi and you land either on Swat or on Peshawar or on Abbottabad.
Or even now to Gwadar.
To Gwadar as well.
Yeah.
Okay, we forget this part of Pakistan. Gwadar is actually the western border of Pakistan, southwestern border of the Pakistan, and this is one of the beautiful beaches you can imagine. It's a clean beach, and the other beauty is that beach is very deep as well. So this is why ships, this is why this is very attractive place for all the world for transit from Pakistan to the Central Asian states, because ships can come and just can kind of a dock just at the edge of the earth.
As a matter of fact, one of my friends is planning to start a cruise from Karachi to Gwadar.
Lovely.
Just for recreation.
Lovely.
So
lovely.
I think not just Pakistan, I mean all over the Muslim world, so many things are there. We can connect our children to those beautiful areas. We can bring them there, and if they have a question about some infrastructure problem, some electricity problem, we can tell them, look, the reason of these problems are we who have moved from this country. Had we been there, so that we involve our children the effects of brain drain on the poverty stricken and victim all over the world, especially the Muslim world. If you have any questions, please, you can send the feedback and we can talk about these things. I think we should bring dialogue with our children about this brain drain.
True.
It is not the privilege now they have got that they are living in comfortable environment. It is that there is some price for it, and they should at least know that cost and price our nations are paying for this brain drain.
And sir, I mean, sorry for interrupting you. Probably you were making the concluding remarks. But the thing is that we must not tell a lie to our children. With that, this relationship has to be a relationship of trust and truth.
Yeah.
If they say this happens in Pakistan or India, or I mean, if your children they ask from you, and if it is true, just tell them yes, this is true,
Yeah.
and this is the reason of it.
Yeah.
Right?
This is the reason.
So there is no problem, in telling them the truth, and I'm sure the children who are grown up in that environment, they have got the intellect and the kind of understanding that they will be easily convinced, and they will be logically understanding it, that if we are such, why we are such.
So thank you,
Sir,
Javed,
thank you very much.
for giving us time.
Thank you very much.
From
It's a
your
pleasure.
busy schedule.
It's a pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care.
So, and the dialogue continues. There are many other aspects of this brain drain that we still need to work on. People doesn't have to just depend on the governments that they bring environment so that we can reverse the brain drain. I think there are many ways nowadays that we can contribute. But the first thing is connecting our children to our countries, the Muslim world. I mean, they go to for their education. They go to Europe and they do stuff like that. They can do the same thing, going back to our countries and serve there for 4 weeks and have a summer vacation. So many things can be done and arranged by the people in the West. Now it's open forum for everyone to ask questions and bring things in dialogue. So, uh, Dr. Chadda has asked very good question. What's your impression about youth in Pakistan vis-a-vis youth in New York, especially mosque, Islamic center role for shaping the lives of the youth here? Well, the institutions in the West, especially the Islamic institutions, they are getting better and better since the mosques are being run more democratically and more people are involved in that. So I think as far as youth is concerned, the small part of the youth, they are getting better training, better connection with Islam in the West. And the same similar work is also being done in Pakistan and other countries. But I think the problem is that it's such a huge work. The population is so much that it's only a smaller fraction that are getting better connection with as far as their training is concerned, and as far as their upbringing is concerned. So I think lots of work has to be done for the youth in Pakistan and other countries as compared to what we are doing here in USA and New York in the Islamic centers. But out of Islamic centers, really majority of the people are out of Islamic centers in USA. So we don't know what is happening there. So we need to have a statistical data, what is happening to our youth who are outside the sphere of Islamic centers. I think one thing that the Islamic Institute can do is they can, especially the mosques, they can use the summer vacations for bringing a group of Muslims and connecting them, the youth of in Pakistan and other countries, and finding out some projects which people can do together, and that will be a very useful way of getting to know each other and getting to contribute back to our countries. So if there is no more question, hope to see you in October. Yes, there is one more question. Okay, so another uh, question came: how some countries like Israel and other European countries are so successful in handling brain drain. They call it brain circulation instead of brain drain, where the people are gaining experiences. That's a very good example. Basically, we are calling it brain drain because the once the people come here, they only go for marriages or some other things to join, and when they go there, there is only tapsara and tajziya and criticism about the systems and complaints, while I think the main area is the governments, best naturally, the institutions in those countries who are making sure that their brain comes and uses it. I think similar patterns can be done, but if the governments are not good enough, the people should make these arrangements. Nowadays, in this area of superhighway of information and communication, I think it's not that difficult to connect people to people. So we don't really need to blame all the time the governments. If they are not doing their job, we can go ahead and connect among each other and do this brain circulation. But that's a very good question and very good reference that how we can reverse this brain drain and undo the side effects of brain drain. So if there is no more question, thank you very much for joining this program. You can also see this on YouTube and your Facebook and on ICLI website. Till next session, goodbye and Allah Hafiz.